Welcome back, Duality 7Xers. UFC 320 delivered some serious fireworks from Alex Pereira's brutal, and I mean brutal, guys, 80-second knockout to Merab, pretty much setting takedown records, and Jiri Prochazka's unbelievable comeback chaos. Guys, in this video, I try to break down every major moment from the card with stats, quotes, and what it all means for the future of the UFC. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Duality 7X for more MMA, UFC, boxing, and WWE talk. If you've got content ideas, fight predictions, business inquiries, definitely hit me up on my Gmail. Now, guys, I'm still in shock, guys. I'm still in shock after yesterday's unbelievable card. This card probably went down as probably one of the most exciting UFC cards here, in quite some time. I mean, ever since the last major card, when we saw Khamzat, take on Duplessis and win, and then you had UFC Perth, and then now UFC 320. Guys, it's been banger after banger. It's been unbelievable, and the action is nonstop. And then take into consider or factor in all the additional drama that's coming into the scene and into the space. You got crossover events. You've got the possibility of looking at MMA fighters taking on boxers. You've got discussions about having the first ever UFC fight night at the White House next year, 2026. To kick off and to celebrate America's 250th celebration. Like, guys, there's and then in addition to that, you got John Jones who wants to make a comeback. You got Conor McGregor who's definitely wanting to make a comeback. I mean, there's just so many things that are going on, guys, that I have nothing but content for days. If I could do this full time, I would. I'd probably be cranking out at least a couple videos every day. And guess what? I still wouldn't be running out of storylines or content lines, shall I say, because it just continues to grow. Every day there's something new that's coming out. Now, this is absolutely incredible, guys. I watched the fight. I'm sure you guys watched it as well, too. And, I don't even know where to begin. Seriously, guys. I mean, look. Before the fight even began, there was tension. Pereira and Ankalaev, they essentially split the rivalry. Ankalaev beat Pereira via decision, okay, at UFC 313. Pereira claimed that he was sick, he wasn't feeling too well, he was battling injuries, he wasn't at 100%. In fact, if you guys watched that fight, he actually didn't look like he was 100%, but that could also have meant that Ankalaev just owned him in that fight. So many fans even question if he was ever truly hurt or if perhaps maybe he was just past his prime. You have to understand, Pereira's like 38 years old now, so he is getting up there in age. But leading into UFC 320, these guys have been jarring back and forth. They've been trash talking. There's been instances where they were within the same vicinity with one another. These guys just did not like each other at all. Then you had, just before the fight, you had Ankalaev's trainer essentially coming out in the media and saying that Pereira doesn't even belong here anymore and that he should maybe pack up, retire, and think of maybe doing something else. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of tension. And rumors are flying left, right, and center. And then Pereira, apparently, in lead up to UFC 320, put back nearly 28 pounds after weigh-ins, guys. Like, bulking right back up to 232 pounds, guys. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, that's a serious size swing to carry into a fight. All right? So just imagine like what these guys have to go through, the conditioning, the training, and then to prep your body so that you could actually meet weight, and then for it to all just come right back. And you don't want dead weight, you don't want crap weight to come back. I mean, he looked good. And if you guys watched it, he looked laser beam focused. He was just staring, like that stare of Pereira. He even shaved his hair and everything, shaved his head, sorry. His hair was all gone. He wanted to, he came in like he looked like he was on a mission. And if looks could kill, guys, holy smokes. This guy looked dangerous. I had a weird kind of feeling too when I saw Pereira and then I saw his team right behind him and the way they were just watching Ankalaev come into the ring. They didn't even take their eyes off of him. They were just laser beamed on him the whole time. He couldn't wait till the bell sounded so he could get right in there and get business done. Unbelievable. Ankalaev, I mean, he came in completely confident, and again, I talked about his manager even predicting that if they ran it back, it would have been really worse for Alex. I'm not so sure, guys, but I mean, the stakes are definitely high. Vindication or confirmation of a decline. There were so many storylines that were ready to go, depending on the outcome of this fight. And then, of course, in bantamweight, you had Merab versus Sandhagen. And Merab's already known for, like, relentless pressure. This guy looks like he's the Energizer, like the human version of the Energizer Bunny. This guy's got, like permanent D-cell, like, batteries stuck in him. He's just full of stamina, full of energy. Corey believed that he'd improved, right? Like, he improved and that he had a chance to actually beat, the machine. But... then again, that was a pretty good co-main event, guys. Fans are debating, would the rematch be the same old story? Would it be reinvented? But look, guys, there's a lot of storylines that came out of this. Khalil Roundtree Jr. taking on Jiri Prochazka. Holy schmoly, guys! Like, if you watch that fight too, I mean, Khalil looked like it was his fight. I mean, for the first 3 rounds, he was dominating. But I noticed something. I was watching this and I was like, the longer this fight goes on, this is not going to be looking good for Khalil, because it looked like Jiri was gaining momentum. Now, I don't know how to explain that, because he looked like he was on the ropes, at least for the first 3 rounds. And all of a sudden, he springs back and he gets the win in such decisive fashion. Like, he took out Khalil in a big, big way, guys. It was absolutely incredible. Yusuf Zalal, wow. Like, taking on Yusuf Zalal was taking on Josh Emmett. And Zalal, I think he's like, 29 years old. And Emmett's like 40. Absolutely incredible. That was a really good match too. The main card was incredible, guys. There was some really good prelims as well too. But let's talk about this, okay? So I wish I could go on for hours and hours. This is not a live stream, but I want to kind of get to the juice, and I want to get to like the bare bones, the meat of what kind of happened. A little bit of a recap, if you want to call it that. And then we, of course, we'll have some other videos where we can kind of do a little bit of a deep dive into some of these matches and kind of determine what's next for some of these fighters, right? And then, on top of that, during the main event, wow, it was amazing to see. It was amazing to see Olberg there in the audience watching on. Jiri Prochazka was watching on. Obviously, they have like an invested interest in the lightweight division. So this was about the lightweight division, guys. UFC 320. I mean, hitting off with the main event. There's a lot of drama that's going to happen within this division. So let's get into this, guys. Pereira's profile showed like a 3.66 significant strikes landed per minute versus Ankalaev's 5.0 and a takedown average of 0.80 with a 22.73% TD accuracy. Now, that's according to ESPN.com. Now, stats rarely tell the full story in a fight, especially with finishes. But let me talk about, and let's kind of summarize what happened. The moment the cage door shut, Pereira was an animal. Like, he was, again, I keep telling everybody, this guy was laser beam focused. Soon as that door shut, he came rushing. And he kind of stunned Ankalaev a little bit. Ankalaev was kind of, I think he was taken back a little bit too by the aggressiveness and the accuracy of Pereira. He rushed in, no feeling out period or anything like that. Like, you get a lot of the fighters and boxers, the first couple rounds, they kind of feel each other out, and then they start kind of going at it. No, he went right in there, guns a-blazing. He brought in the cavalry, and he brought everything but the kitchen sink. A hard right hand, essentially, and then Ankalaev, tried to do a takedown. Pereira kind of met him with elbows, ground strikes, and then that was it, guys. Referee couldn't let it continue. The fight was over at 1 minute 20 seconds in round number 1. Like, it was that quick. In fact, my brother-in-law, who was there watching the fight with us, got up to go to the bathroom. By the time he came back, it was already done. They were already announcing the winners of the fight. I mean, these are the kind of fights, guys. It's so explosive that anything can happen. I mean, I personally thought, and I was talking about it in my other videos, I thought Ankalaev was going to win by decision, and it was going to go the distance. Boy, was I wrong. So my money lines, I think I got, honestly, 3 out of 5 right picks, but it was tough call. It was really tough. I mean, tough to call these fights. I mean, and look, guys, Pereira did all of this in such decisive fashion. He made a statement, and he not only came in to make a statement, he obliterated his way to winning back his title. So Pereira, he said he wasn't in good condition. Last time, he said that the last time he fought Ankalaev, he felt that there was a lot of things that kind of went wrong for him, his health, he just wasn't 100%, his conditioning and everything, but he said he was prepared for this fight, and he was 100% ready to go, and it looked that way, guys. I mean, no ifs and buts about it. He even asked, and this was a classy moment, a very, very classy moment from Pereira. He even asked for a moment of silence for Arthur Jones, brother of John Jones. Very emotional, very respectful. As everyone knows, he just recently passed away. So, from a psychological perspective, that knockout of Ankalaev was, wow, absolutely incredible. It really changes a narrative. I mean, he wasn't just lucky. Like, he dominated. He obliterated Ankalaev. I would have never, ever thought in my wildest dreams a fighter like Ankalaev, especially from Dagestan, where these guys have a reputation for being like made out of stone, would have been manhandled the way he looked, the way he was. Like, it was absolutely like Pereira put on a clinic, guys. He looked dominant. He looked energized. And now, what does this mean? What's next? Does Pereira versus Ankalaev 3 happen to decide who actually is, the big dog, I guess, if you want to call it, of the octagon? Because now it's 1-1 for these guys, right? With Ankalaev winning the first one, and now Pereira winning this one. But, I mean, look, Pereira has options, guys. Now, I talked about Jiri Prochazka. He's beaten him before. Beautiful round kick to the head, if you guys watched that. And then you got Alberg, who's even chasing the belt. And remember, Carlos Alberg just fought in Perth, and he won in such decisive fashion. They flew him down to UFC 320 in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena, and he looked ready, guys. He was watching. He was like a kid in a candy store. He was basically taking it all in. I mean, and this guy's undefeated, right? And, if anything, any one of these guys could easily go heavyweight if they really wanted to. But I think Alberg is really looking for an opportunity. He's looking for a big opportunity. And when you have Magomed, when you have Ankalaev kind of, who was now at the top of the rankings, and now with this, he's going to be pushed back down a little bit. Alex Pereira, you got Jiri Prochazka. Now with Yuri's win, this puts him as probably the number 1 contender, against Pereira. They fought before. This could be a great rematch. You got Khalil Roundtree Jr. in there as well too, but with the loss against Jiri, I don't know. And then what about Blachowicz? Blachowicz is there as well too. He gets, he should also be Jamal. I mean, we didn't even talk about Jamal Hill. I mean, what about him? Right? I mean, there's so many guys. Dominic Reyes probably wants an opportunity as well, too. And, I mean, if you keep going down the light heavyweight rankings, almost every one of those guys, if given the opportunity, would come out to really, to do the best that they can to try to strip that title away from Pereira. So Pereira's got options. He's got choices. At the end of the day, I think Dana White and his crew and his team there at the UFC, they've got... I mean, it's it's a good trouble to have, right? It's not a problem. It's a good problem to have, to be able to figure out and play matchmaker who is ready to go and who would be the next best opponent for Pereira. I think the way Jiri Prochazka came back to beat Khalil Roundtree Jr., winning fight of the night, by the way, the way he did that, like he looked like no matter what Khalil was throwing at him, kicks, punches, whatever, it didn't look like it phased Jiri at all. He looked really calm. He looked really composed and focused. He had his eye on the prize, almost like as if he stuck with the strategy, and he didn't falter. The fact that he almost got taken out within those first 3 rounds, and then to turn it around like a complete 180 and basically beat down Khalil the way he did, I think Khalil right now would either between Jiri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg, one of those guys would probably be the best fight next for Pereira. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Now, I think I'm going to lean more towards a trilogy with Jiri, okay? And I mean, I think it's going to be a highly marketable event. I think it's going to be explosive, and I think that's what UFC fans are going to probably want. If you guys have other opinions and thoughts, I'd love to hear it. I mean, Pereira's transformation was absolutely more than physical. It seems like he had the mental game going on as well too. And I think that's really important, right? Because again, he looked just unbelievable. Like, he was a physical specimen. His body looked ready to go. The question always comes down to is mentally, how are these guys? And the way he came out aggressive against Ankalaev, as soon as the referee said let's go, he just rushed towards Ankalaev, not realizing that he could have been like hit with a right or a jab or anything could have happened, and he could have been sent to the canvas. And no, it seemed like he looked like Superman. He looked like he was just unfazed. He had a mission, and he came to obliterate, and obliterate he did, right? So, anyways, guys, now it's going to be interesting to see what happens in light heavyweight division. Sorry, I'm absolutely it's unbelievable, right? I mean, I think Pereira's now 14-3, 3-time UFC champion, right? I mean, this instantly rockets Poatan back into the mix, right? And I mean, I'm just wondering what Dana White is actually going to do. The bigger question though comes down to is Pereira's age, right? Because I mean, now after coming back and beating Ankalaev in such grand fashion, the way he did it within 80 seconds, guys, all right? He didn't even need the rest of the rounds. In round 1, he TKO'd Ankalaev. But the question comes down to is his age. 38 years old, right? Whereas Ankalaev is only 33. Now, Ankalaev still has a little bit of wear and tread left on him. The question comes down to is, how well will Pereira be ready for his next match? To win the way he did and catching Ankalaev clean with a looping right hook. Did you guys see the highlight of this? That was it. After that hook, Ankalaev was done. He was done. And then it prompted a desperation takedown. It failed. And then that's it. Poatan took it over. And he immediately pounced on him, barraged him, with hard punches and a flurry of unanswered 12-6 elbows to the head and body, forcing Herb Dean to come in and step in, and that was it. Right? And then if you notice too, right at the end, Pereira rose to his feet and mocked Ankalaev in a similar fashion as he did to Jamahal Hill following their UFC 300 grudge match back in 2024, where Pereira also won via first round knockout. Now, this actually, this is a shocking, so for Ankalaev, he's got more questions than he's got answers, right? Because this snaps a 14 fight unbeaten streak for him, for the Russian, right? And so, like, I mean, coming in that night as, uncrowned's number 7 pound for pound fighter in the world. Imagine, guys, right? Prior to Saturday, he had everything going for him. He was at top of the charts. He had he had the gold. He had the hardware around him as well too, and all of that. Like, I mean, if this went to like a decision and Ankalaev lost, okay, we get it. It happens, right? But for him to lose the way he did in the first round, it it actually it warrants a lot of questions and answers that we're not going to have, or we're not going to have anytime soon. And now I think it's going to be really interesting to see kind of what goes on with Ankalaev, because he's going to have to go back to the drawing board, and he's going to have to really rethink some things if he wants to come back and be at the same level he once was, right? But again, guys, like, that's UFC for you guys. That's the fight world, and we'll see what kind of comes out of that. But again, the class touch that Pereira did right at the end to the Las Vegas crowd, asking everybody to take a moment of silence in honor of the former NFL lineman, Arthur Jones, the older brother of UFC legend, John Jones, unfortunately passing away at the age of 39. That's really, really sad. I mean, there's a lot of news that's surrounding John Jones right now, and that's the last thing that you want to hear. I think there's a strong chance we're going to see John Jones back in the UFC, whether it's going to be at UFC Fight Night at the White House or even earlier than that. I think it's going to happen. But yeah, I think this is absolutely incredible. I just keep thinking about, Pereira's fight, his victory over Israel Adesanya, and then I think about, like, wow, there was a lot that happened. I wish I was there. I wish I was at the T-Mobile Arena to watch this fight in person. Would have been absolutely incredible, guys. I mean, yeah. But anyhow, that said, I think Arthur Jones is also, if I'm not, yeah, I think he was a Super Bowl champion as well too. So yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with the Jones family, and may he rest in peace. It's really, really sad. So, anyways, guys, Alex Pereira reminded the entire world, the entire fight world, right, that you can never count out Potan, okay, to win again in less than 90 seconds, walking back into the octagon as if he never missed a beat, and, coming in there and taking back his light heavyweight crown with a huge statement like the way he did. It's a message, not just Ankalaev, but it's a message to the entire division, okay? If you want this title, you're going to have to bring your A game. You're going to have to bring your best. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to see kind of what happens, right? So let's see what else we have. I was really hoping to kind of talk a little bit about Merab, and maybe we can actually, so if we got a little bit of time. So the co-main event was absolutely incredible as well too, right? I mean, both of these guys came in with, breaming of confidence, okay? I mean, Corey Sandhagen said he addressed his weaknesses, and he believed that with his conditioning, his training, the way his camp was going, he felt pretty confident that he was going to he was going to actually do well against Merab, right? Now, Merab's record stands 20-4 prior to Saturday night, and he's proven to be very consistent. He's one of those fighters who continues to evolve and grow. He's been doing a lot of positive things in the ring, from his striking capabilities, his working on his takedowns. He's a really, like, legit fighter, and he's got a mission as well too. He wants to be right at the top of the charts, and I totally think that he can be there. I think that division is absolutely incredible. There, and I'm going to talk a little bit about. I'm just looking at the rankings right now, but here's how it all went down, right? So I remember, like, watching this fight, Sandhagen pretty much started strong, right? He has striking. He kept Merab a little bit at a distance, and he was controlling that really well. He was even defending some early takedown attempts, and I knew Merab was going to come in there and try to take him down early. But Merab, being the Energizer bunny that he is, also known as the Machine, he turned it up mid-fight, guys. Relentless pressure. He kept on Corey, repeated takedowns, and then a near finish in round 2, and then essentially ended up in a flurry that dropped Corey, and that was that. And so, like, the judge, like, well, the judges saw it as it was a unanimous decision. And I think Merab landed the most takedowns ever in like a UFC title fight. I think he had a total of 20 takedowns, and it was like, that's unheard of, guys. Unheard of, right? Merab was talking about improving his striking as well too, wanting to stay active. He even called out asking for a fight in December. So the question I have is there anyone that can actually beat Merab? Then you got Sean O'Malley. He's right at the top. You got Omar Nurmagomedov. He's there as well too. And by the way, guys, shout out to Usman Nurmagomedov. He's 20-0, and he remains to be the best lightweight outside of the UFC with this victory in PFL. 20-0, guys. I mean, can we see this guy potentially in UFC? Maybe. You got Peter Yan. You got a lot of noteworthy fighters, especially in the bantamweight division there. So I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of wondering what's going on with guys like David Martinez and yeah, even Marlon Vera, right? And then you also got Song Yadong. Like you got some really really interesting fighters, and these guys they're no jokes. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I'm really curious if there'll be a Sean O'Malley Merab fight maybe, or Omer perhaps versus Merab, or is it going to take on somebody else like maybe Vera or Yadong? Very interesting. You can't take away what Peter Yan's been doing as well too. I mean, that could be honestly the most logical next fight. I mean, technically he's already beaten him, but if you want somebody with like elite cardio, wrestling, somebody who could match, his pace, I think Peter Yan could probably anyway, Sean, Omer, Peter, any one of those guys could be possibly the next best fight for Merab. But let's talk about Jiri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree Jr., guys. I had this wrong. I had Khalil winning this. I was really doubting Jiri Prochazka. I thought maybe he's a little bit kind of on a decline. Roundtree he came in, he looked really good. But you could totally tell the height difference, and you could also tell the reach difference, right? Yuri had a little bit of the longer reach, and his distance control between was absolutely incredible. It was making it a little bit difficult for Roundtree to kind of get in on the inside. Roundtree had his moments early, though. He landed some solid rights. He put on some immense boxing pressure, but Yuri was very cautious. And as I mentioned, he was very composed. He was measured during his first two rounds, and then a turnaround came, like honestly, in round three. Right, it changed everything. Yuri let loose. Like, we're talking about spinning elbows, forward pressure, body attacks. Like, I mean, then he had this beautiful clean left hand that dropped Roundtree at like 3 minutes into round three, and he worked Khalil like there was no tomorrow. The beautiful thing is that he pocketed a whole fight of the night and performance bonuses, a total of $100,000, guys. Absolutely incredible. And like watching this fight just reaffirms what makes Yuri so dangerous, right? He doesn't need to dominate first rounds. He's the kind of guy who kind of works his way a little bit, and then after the second, third round, then he puts it into like he puts it into a different gear, right? And all of a sudden, he's got this next win, new energy, and he's coming at you with a barrage of, very technical punches and kicks, and he'll. This is why Yuri is so dangerous, right? Because he really waits for that moment before he strikes, and this is why I'm almost leaning more towards a fight with Pereira and Yuri next, because I think that would be incredible with the way Yuri performed against Khalil. And so if there was anyone in the mix who was talking about a possible match of Khalil versus Pereira, now I think That's not going to happen, and I think now they're going to talk about they're going to talk about Yuri versus Pereira as the next possible best fight for Pereira, right? So again, being in the mix, I think that's absolutely incredible. Apparently, there was an offer to Olberg, potentially, but I think he might have declined it. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more and find out what the story is behind that. But again, seeing a trilogy between Yuri and Pereira, I think makes the most sense. But I'm a little confused. I thought maybe Olberg he would probably want this, but I think he's looking at some other fights, maybe other divisions, and so we'll have to see. I'll bring some more. I'll get some more intel on that, and then Joe Pfeiffer versus Magomedov. Now I got this one wrong as well too. I kind of had Magomedov winning this fight. Magomedov came in strong, heavy elbows, beautiful control. Pfeiffer is one of those guys. He's known as a knockout artist, so he likes to stay on his feet. Magomedov in round one, he looked great, guys. He just essentially just snapping knees, elbows. He basically had Pfeiffer in very uncomfortable spots, right? But the thing about Pfeiffer is he survived. He scraped on ahead, he adjusted, and then all he needed was to get to round two, and then he starts to turn it on. He started landing the harder right hands. He got into position. He locked in a rear naked choke on Magomedov, and that's it. The fight ended, and that just proves that Pfeiffer is not just hands. He's not just a striker, that he's got some technical skills as well, too, and he's evolving his ground game, and in essence his MMA IQ is definitely up there, and so that was a big win for him. So I'm excited to see what happens. And then when you're talking about the featherweight division, you got Alexander Volkanovski at the top of the charts, but then you got this rising up and coming star by the name of Yusuf Zalal, and he took on Josh Emmett. And Zalal immediately came in, took a leg, dragged Emmett down, and with solid grappling, locked in a beautiful armbar at 1 minute and 38 seconds, and that's it. Emmett essentially tapped. And this just shows how incredible of a fighter Zalal is, and how he's able to just use that IQ sense. And he knew what he needed to do, and he locked in. That armbar was not easy to do, especially on a very fresh, very ready to go Josh Emmett. Look, you make a mistake against a guy like Emmett, you're going to be flat knocked out on the canvas. And he didn't even give Emmett the opportunity. He just went right in there and taking him down, and then his grappling skills were absolutely next level. But that armbar was so beautiful, guys. And Zalal was just building momentum, and look, this is the kind of guy that you can't sleep on him, right? So I want to see. Coming into this fight, I think he was ranked number 9. I want to see him kind of climb up there, but then he's got some big competition ahead too. He's got Ortega, but he's got Sterling. But I want to see a fight potentially between him and Diego Lopez, maybe maybe Mosfar. There's a lot of big fighters in this division. So again, I'm really excited to see kind of what happens with that. And anyhow, just as a quick recap. Shabazian pretty much KO'd Andre Muniz at the very end of round number 1. That was a very, very big statement. Great fight. Jakub Wiklic edged Patchy Mix by split decision. Now, going into this fight, I thought Mix was in the mix. I had Mix winning this fight, but Jakub took it, and it was a very, very close fight. So, was it somewhat controversial? I don't know. But Jakub got the win in that one, and then Ramiz Brahima submitted Austin Vanderford, then Farid Bashared, Veronica Hardy, Soriano, all picked up unanimous decisions. And so also, as I talked about a little bit briefly, PFL Dubai, Sergio Petitas dropped Magomedov in a KO. Whew. Wow, it was getting a lot of buzz, guys, last night. A lot of people are talking about this possibly being as KO of the year candidate. So Magomedov got rocked, literally rocked. So, anyways, guys, a lot of redemption stories to sell in UFC 320. Prayers win resets, the complete, like, it just resets the narrative in the UFC, right? Pace, pressure, winning formulas, guys. Merab again proves his relentless wrestling, winning ways, being able to control the pace, his stamina, his energy levels. How do you even defend against a guy like that, right? And then Jiri. Is Jiri the new poster child? Like, seriously, guys, like, and for him to kind of come out and watch the Pereira Ankalaev fight with interest. You could see how he was just like not only watching the fight, but he was studying the fight, like as if he knows that something might be happening. And so even if the rounds aren't perfect early, he can definitely shift the tide, right? So versatility is the key. Pfeiffer's win showed his finishing power, his ground smarts, and then of course, it was great. All along, what do you guys think? Who do you think was the most impressive fighter of the UFC 320? Do you prefer Pereira versus Ankalaev, maybe part 3, or Pereira versus Jiri next? Do you think Merab's dominance can be challenged in 2026? Do you want to see Merab in a December fight, perhaps? And which undercard fighter caught your attention? Was it Pfeiffer? Was it Yusuf Zalal? Was it Shabaizan? I mean, I want to hear your thoughts and comments. I love reading your guys' takes. I want to thank you guys again. I know this is quick, guys. I know it's really fast, but we'll definitely start doing a little bit of a deep dive in some of these fights here. Thank you so much. If you dug this, please smash the like and subscribe. Ring the bell. You don't want to miss what's next here on Duality 7X. We got fight breakdowns, predictions, and a ton of other coverage that you can't get elsewhere. And I'll see you guys on the next one.